So when we enter into the realm of meditation, what we're doing is that we're pushing the word of God to get into the spirit. What the spirit does is that it comes alive, it responds, it comes alive. When your spirit comes alive, that's when spiritual life starts. That's when spiritual life starts. But we've got to get to a point where we bypass what? The soul. We bypass ourselves. So, you can test yourself in this way. When you're listening to the Bible, the moment you are in the place where you're trying to figure it out, you must know that who is stepped in now? Hey? Your soul, yourself. So some of the guys are asking me, but what is the soul? I know Therein asked me, like, what is the soul? So when you speak about your soul, beloved, it's yourself, who you are as a person. It's the person that's been living for 20, 30, 40 years. That is your soul. It's yourself. So when the Bible comes initially, the soul is used to what? The soul is used to this life. So when the word comes, what does the soul do? It rejects it. It rejects it. And it tries to figure it out. And it's trying to figure it out. But in the meantime, your spirit is behind your soul waiting, hungry for it. Hungry, trying to get one word in. But it can't. That is why you'll find that the best time, I say this again, the best time to do your meditations initially, the best time is maybe 2 hours before you go to sleep. 2 hours before you go to sleep. And let it play. Because there, where's your soul? Your soul is off. Or let's say 90% off. Because you can still have soulish dreams. So 90% off. Then when that's off, if your soul is off, guess what happens? What happens when the word comes? It goes to your spirit. Then your spirit gets the word. Your spirit gets the word, and guess what it does? It kicks up. And it now starts to say, hey, look, soul, what you're doing to us. You're killing us. You're hurting us. We're supposed to be one, but you're dominating here. You're hurting us. Then these dreams come to light. Or these impressions come to say, hey, this needs to change. That needs to change. You get me? So who's been having, Zede, you said last week that you've been having a lot of it. Kurt, you've been having a lot of them. When you say a lot, almost like what, every day, second day? Almost every day. Yes, because now what's happening is that her spirit is saying, wow, I've tasted the word of God, and I want the word of God to go into the area of yourself and influence yourself. So, the only way it can do is send out some type of pop-up message, like an alert. So it sends an alert to you, and it shows you stuff. Sometimes, in that stuff that it's showing you, it's showing things ahead. Things ahead that could damage you. And also, it's showing you things ahead that can benefit you. So, now the spirit, what it's doing is, because the spirit is made in the image of God, so he is the Lord. He's the Lord of this body. So he wants to not evict the tenant, he wants to spiritualize yourself and to make your soul into a spiritual entity that carries like the presence of God with it. You're following me, beloved? You see, that's the function. That's the function of the word of God. So in Hebrews 4:12, see what it says. It says that the word of God, it is quick. It says it's alive. So this book, when you look at it, it looks dead, right? It looks dead because the words are just there. It's dead. But this book says that everything in it is alive. It's got life. It's got life. This book, it says it's got life. It's got life. Then it also says it's powerful. Does this book look powerful, Matthew? It doesn't look like it got no power, right? So if you come with a sword or a gun and I come with this book, which appears more powerful? The sword and the gun, all right? But here it says it's powerful. The word powerful is the word energizing. It's got energy. It's got energy. So the word is alive and it's got energy. Then it says what it does, it's sharper than any two-edged sword. And when received, it pierces even to the dividing of soul and spirit. So what the word will do, it will pierce like this and will separate your soul and will separate your spirit. It divides it. It divides it asunder. That's the first thing it will do. It will show you itself. It will show you who you are. The beautiful person that you've become all these years. And sometimes it shows you the horrible person that we've become as well. It shows the thoughts. It shows vengeance. It shows hate. It shows murder. It shows revenge. Listen, Christians too, they got revenge. Preachers, do they have revenge? I'm telling you. Preachers, they got revenge. You see, in Jesus' time, those guys, they were the preachers, but they were the legal gangsters. You know what's a legal gangster? A legal gangster is one that does a crime and doesn't go to jail. They say the other gangsters that do the crime are the petty gangsters. They look harsh, but they go spend time in jail. The legal ones is the one that hurts you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So in Jesus' day, who were the biggest? You know who were the biggest gangsters in Jesus' day? Were the ones stealing stuff, missing taxes? No, the biggest gangsters in Jesus' day and in John the Baptist's day was who? Was the preachers. It was the preachers. It was the righteous ones, or rather the self-proclaimed righteous ones. That is why, beloved, if ever you decide to put on the TV and listen to someone, you've got to always listen to what's inside of you. So you might not understand the person. So for example, somebody was like working by the place there, and this guy came to the mall. And he says, hey, so-and-so, you are this is what's going on in your life. And he gave them an outline, 100% accurate. Then afterwards, the person says, come meet me in this place by my church. So the person goes. Then they said, okay, I got another word for you and your family. But when you come, you must come with a gift. Which means you must come with money. Now, is the word correct for their life? Yes. 100% correct. So I said to the individual, don't even waste your time with that word. Because now you're going to put a person on the position that is the only one that has this word for your life. The only person that can say something to you that can result in change. I said, yes, it's good. It's good. It's good to give. It's good to give. 100% it's good to give. In our lives, in Deborah and my life, whenever somebody gave a word to us, maybe a week later when we had the ability, we would silently go and pass something to them. Hey, thank you for that. We appreciate it. But now this individual is upfront saying, when you'll all come, you must come with something first, and then I'll release the word. So the word that he gave was correct. But inside, I'll ask the person inside, he says, hey, I can't explain it, but hey, I said it's good. Don't do it. You follow me, beloved? So therefore, you don't disqualify all preachers. You don't disqualify because that's going to the other extreme. But what you got to do always is hear the inward impression. Hear what's happening with you. Hear what's happening with you. Hear what the Spirit of God is saying to you. So while I'm talking to you, the important voice is what's happening inside of you. It's not my voice. The greater voice, Jesus said in Revelations, he spoke to the churches, he spoke to John to give message to the churches, and afterwards Jesus says, but hear what the Spirit is saying before you go and implement. So if they don't hear what the Spirit is saying, don't implement anything in your life. Hear from the Spirit. Hear from the Spirit and then implement. All right. So it divides asunder soul and spirit. That's the first part. All it's doing is highlighting. The question is, once it's highlighted, what do you do? What's the next step? What do you do? What's the next step? Because highlighted you, it's shown you what you are. And see what it says afterwards. It goes further. The word of God goes. And it says, and of the joints and of the marrow. So it splits these two. It splits these two. It opens these two up like this. Zoof. And the marrow is exposed. Anybody knows what marrow is? It's in your bones, right? So if you do, let's say, who can we use? Let's use Joel James, because you know Joel James is the loudest of us all. So if we were to do a transplant, who's a quiet person? No, not Loxy. Loxy's not quiet. Who's the quietest person? Let's say Ken. Let's say Ken, right? So if Ken needs bone marrow for some reason, and Joel says, I'm willing, he can take some of my bone marrow, then we do the procedure, and we take the bone marrow from Joel, and we put it into Ken, right? That's today. Next week, Sunday, when Ken comes back, and you're looking at him with those eyes to get the sound right, Ken's response won't be like how Ken's response is. It'll be the Joel James from Purple Flats response. You get me? Because what bone marrow does is, when it goes into you, the person that you received it from, you take on their behavior. You become like them. Automatically. You don't do nothing else. So which means there's nothing Manuel Ken had to do. He never go and or go do research there by the Purple Flats and ask about Joel James. Because Joel James, the moment you drive past Purple Flats, there's only one voice you hear. There's one voice you hear, and that's Joel, right? So when that happens, when his bone marrow comes into Ken, he'll be immaculate. His grandpa will be wondering, hey boy, what happened to you here? At church on this mixer. Whoa, my gosh, it'll be another story. So you understand the principle. So guess what happens now when the procedure of the word of God travels down and it gets into your bone marrow? What happens then? Guess what happens? That's how the automatic, no effort, zero effort, no trying to do something. You don't try to do anything. It's automatic. Just like that, you take on that behavior. So imagine automatically taking on the behavior of the Word, who is Jesus Christ. It's automatic. It's automatic, all right? However, it's dependent on what? What is it dependent on? The first layer. What is the first layer? The soul and the spirit. It's dependent on us being willing to stand down. Say, hey, soul, stand down. There is soul, enough. A soul, enough. All right? But you can't just do that. You need the word of God. So the word of God will keep on coming in. And it will be, because the word of God is also known as a cleansing agent. So it comes and it cleanses. So it's washing everything. It's washing, renewing the soul. It's making it new. It's renewing it. It's renewing it. It's renewing it. Now it's dependent on the individual, because that can last for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50, 60, 70. It's all dependent on you and I. So how God works is, he works in cycles. It's like he opens up a door for this area to be dealt with. But you will find maybe in the month of March, it's tough. You will play the Bible, but this specific area will have to wait for another sort of like cycle for God to deal with it. Fortunately for us, it's here. And it's opening up. So guess what happens? It becomes something called decision time. Decision time. Decision time. Decision time. The only thing you got to do is make that decision. Now, your decision, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to like just speedily make the decision. There's a process to making a decision. You follow me, beloved? There's a process. So there's a washing. But when the time comes and you know you've got to make the decision, then you don't delay. Because if you delay then God like shuts a door and he leaves you for another year to live your life. And you can try in your own strength to change yourself, but you can't. So I was saying to the one brother, this is your window, and just make sure you're in church every week because it's your window. But his window's over. His window's over. So because his window's over, he'll struggle. He won't be able to come to church. And for another maybe year, maybe 6 months, he won't. It's impossible. Because your being here, it's some nudging of the Spirit of God. There's something nudging you inside. Say, hey, just go to church. You follow with me? It's not somebody phoning you day and night, pushing you. So you respond to that nudging. So then what happens is that you enter a door of God's grace.